Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Nazifi bin YAAKUB. My metric number is H20A1305. Organizing data. How to describe the data? You can use two things to describe the data by using a table and graph. Objective. Objective is to analyze the data by measures the central tendency, variation, and position, and to calculate the data by using the formula that we have studied in chapter 3 of this subject. After you have studied and understand this chapter, you should be able to describe the data by using a table. Lastly, you can also able to describe the data by using a graph. Data description. The following table show the current price of bungalow for a given site in Kuala Krai, Kelantan. We get the data from Appendix 1, which is given by our lecturer. Tables. The data can be described by using three types of tables. Firstly is frequency distribution, which is group data. Secondly is relative frequency distribution. And lastly is cumulative frequency distribution. Okay, firstly is frequency distribution. Frequency distribution is a representation in graphical and also table format. It used to distance the data collected in sample. There is 5 steps to find the frequency distribution. Firstly is number of class. To find the number of class, you can use the formula 2 power of k is greater than n. Okay, secondly is step 2 is determine the class width. You can use the formula maximum entry minus minimum entry and divide by number of classes to determine the class width. Okay, step number 3 is set the individual class limit, and step number 4 is make a tally mark for each data entry in the appropriate class. And step number 5, if the number of tally mark for a class is the frequency for that class. Okay, next is relative frequency. Relative frequency equal class frequency divided by sample size. Lastly is cumulative relative frequency. Cumulative relative frequency of the class is the sum of the frequency for that class and all previous class. Cumulative frequency of the last class is the equal to sample size, which is 30.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ATTIQ bin SARBINI. My metric number is H20A1060. Today I would like to present about graphical representation. For the first is histogram graph. I would present about the current price of bungalow for a given size square feet in Kuala Krai, Kelantan. For the class 1, 209 to 229 is the midpoint is 219. Number 2, 230 to 250, the midpoint is 240. Number 3, 251 to 271, the midpoint is 261. 272 to 292, the midpoint is 282. Lastly, 293 to 313, the midpoint is 303. For the frequency graph for the current price of bungalow for a given size square feet in Kuala Krai, Kelantan is number 1 class 209 to 229 is the relative frequency is 630 equals 0.2. Number 2, 230 to 250, the relative frequency is 930 equals 0.3. Number 3, 251 to 271, relative frequency 730 equals 0.24. Number 4, 272 to 292, relative frequency 330 equals 0.1. And lastly, 293 to 330, relative frequency 530 equals 0.16.
Measure of central tendency. Measure of central tendency is a value that represents the center of a distribution. Most commonly used in the measure of tendency from group data and group data, which is mean, median, and mode. Sum fx over n, we can get 7662 over 30. The answer is 255.4. The median. The formula is lower class boundary of median class plus n over 2 minus cumulative frequency before median class over frequency of the mid class multiple class width. At 2 to 9.5 is the lower of class boundary of median class plus 10 which we get from n over 2 and which is frequency minus 6 over 9 multiple 21. We can get 250.5. Mode is the location of the model class is based on the highest frequency. Therefore, the model class is 230 until 250. Mode, the formula is lower class boundary of model class plus the difference between frequency of model class and frequency of the class before model class, divide the difference between frequency of model class and frequency of the class before model class, plus the difference between frequency of model class and frequency of the class after model class. Then you multiply with class width. From the data, 2 to 9.5 plus 3 over 3 to 3 plus 2 times 21. We can get 242.1.
Hello everyone, my name is NORALIA binti Muhammad Noor. My metric number is H20A1401. Today I will talk about the measure of variations. Measure of variation is more about the parameter to attempt to describe the amounts of the variation between random variables. The three parameters that use about the quantity, the amounts of the variation in a set. Random is about the range, variance, and standard deviation. For the range of data is the difference between the maximum and minimum data entries in the set. For the range is 310.1 minus 209.5. The answer is 100.6. Therefore, the range of the current price of the bungalow is 100.6. The table shows that we can search a variance group data and the standard deviation by the data sets that we get from the appendix. For the answer for the variance group data is about the 371,868.66. Therefore, for the sample, the standard deviation is about the 609.81. Okay, I will talk about the measure of the position. To determine the measure of positions, the data must be sorted from the lowest to the highest. So the difference between measure of position are quartile is divided into the data set into 4 equal parts. So the data quartile divide the data set into 4 equal parts. So the solution to location of quartile 1 and quartile 3. For quartile 1, the answer is 7.5. The class interval is 213 to 215. For the quartile 3, the answer is 22.5. The class interval is 272 and 292. For the value of the quartile 1 and the quartile 3, first quartile, the answer is 232.83, and the third quartile is the answer is 5,433.33.
Mean 255,000.4, median 250,000.5, mode 240,000.51. So the amount of mean more big than median and mode. So the shape of distribution is skewed to the right, where the tail extends to the right.
My name is Muhammad FAIRUL bin IZHAR. Number metric is H20A1268. I want to present about the data description. This data set shows statistics of rubber estate in Malaysia in year 2000 to 2019, taken from Department of Statistics of Malaysia. From this data set, the independent variable is number of estate, and for the dependent variable is total number of paid employee during the last pay period. Data can be obtained from reliable source, for example through records that have taken earlier, used by stratification and economists. In particular, data can be obtained from derivative source, experiment from design, studies for questionnaires and observation.
Hello, my name is FARAH ISNAIRAH binti SHAFAE. My metric number is H20A1380. I will continue with question number 3. Compute the person's product moment correlation coefficient. Then explain the value option. That is the table. X is a number of estate. Y is total number of paid employee during the last pay period. I will take the total sum of the product x, y, x square, y square, and xy. Total x is 4,643, y 248.4, x square is 293,347, and y square 3,600.66, and xy sum of xy is 67,123.7. That is the way of calculation, and that is the formula that we use. From this, the correlation coefficient is 0.081, and there is very weak positive correlation at 0.081 between x and y. The range of the correlation coefficient is from -1401, and our result is 0.081, which is mean the variable no or negligible relationship.
NURUL Aisyah binti MARZUKI, H2OB1809 from Group C, L1T3. So, I'm gonna continue to explain last part in part B, which is estimate regression equation from the data that we study. Before that, I will explain a bit about regression. What is regression? Regression is a statistical method used in finance, investing, and other disciplines. Regression attempts to determine the strength of character of relationship between one dependent variable that usually denoted by y and other series of other variables known as independent variable or x. To find regression equation, we just need to follow this formula. The first thing we need to do is find B1. After that, we find B0. As you can see, to find the B1, we just need to put the value from the table that we calculate manually in correlation coefficient part. So, after we put the value, we can calculate and get the total of B1 is 0.003. After that, we continue find B0. The steps are the same, follow the formula and calculate it so we can get the answer for B0 is 244. So, for the conclusion, slope equal to 0.003. That means number of estate increase in year, causing the number of paid employee during the last peak period increase till 0.003. And for constant equal to 244, that means when the number of estate is decreased, the number of paid employee during the last peak period decreased till 244. I think that's all from us. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum and bye.